welcome back to another episode of Movie Magic Reviews brought to you by Megadads. I'm Antonio, joined by my best buddy Clay, and today we're going to talk to you about the new film Twisters, and we're going to let you know if it's worth your time, worth your money. Before we begin, a quick reminder, we do talk spoiler-free. So we're going to give our spoiler-free take, our spoiler-free review of the film, and after warning you, at the very end, we're going to talk some spoilers. So that we will do a spoiler alert and then get into some things that we just have to talk about. So it's fun if you come back after you've seen the film, and then we could talk about the things that you just have to get off your chest. But let's get right into it, talking about Twisters. Directed by Lee Isaac Chung, written by Mark L. Smith, Joseph Kosinski, Michael Kreischen, starring Daisy Edgar Jones, Glenn Powell, and Anthony Ramos. Little synopsis for you here. A retired tornado chaser and meteorologist is pursued to return to Oklahoma to work with a new team and new technologies. Oh, it sounds kind of, that's not a very spicy spicy synopsis there. But anyway, let's get right into it, talking about Twisters. I have a great love for the original Twisters film starring Helen Hunt. How about you, Clay? What did you think of the film going in? Were you excited?
Yeah, so I was not excited. I thought the trailer for this movie looked really stupid. But couldn't wait to watch it so that we could talk about it here. I hadn't seen the original,
What?
and I know my dad owned
Whoa.
it on VHS as a kid, and I was like, I really should watch that before we see the new one. Unfortunately, I did not get to see the whole movie before I went to see this last weekend. I started the original Twisters late the night before and then got really sleepy while watching it in bed and turned it off. So I only got about 25% into the original, and then I watched another 25% of it afterwards, and then still just couldn't find the motivation to want to finish it. But I went into the movie theater hoping that my skepticism would be met with something that I would be pleasantly surprised by, but went in pretty much assuming it wasn't going to be a good movie.
So when you've seen the film, you want to tell people worth your time, worth your money. What do you have to say right off the bat? What's your gut check
So
reaction?
alcohol is a very helpful tool to
You were
help
smashed.
No, I was not. I wish I was.
Oh, you were bone dry.
I was
Oh,
bone
okay.
dry. I would recommend anyone who's on the fence about this have a couple drinks before you go. I think it'll just lower that that little voice in your head that says, "Hey, there's no way that this could ever possibly happen in this day and age in this world," and maybe you can just ignore logic and enjoy yourself. It's a stupid movie that you could potentially, if you just leave any kind of critical thinking or logic at the door, you could have a good time with. And people have coined the term like summer flicks, or just like these like silly blockbuster movies of and I'm not trying to be like Mr. I prefer art cinema blah blah blah. Like, I watch a lot of stupid action movies, and so I get that going to the movies is about like just enjoying it and not overthinking it. But this one, I just couldn't help myself. I can't help but look at it and go, this is such a stupid premise, and there's no way blah blah x amount of things would ever happen in the world that we live in. So I don't know, man. I don't think this is for everybody. Obviously, if you like the original, then you'll probably like this one because it steals a lot of the same stuff. The opening scene and some of the other stuff that follows is just like beat for beat from the original, from what I've seen anyways. And so I don't know. I have a couple friends that went and saw this weekend too, and we argued about it. He's like, I love it. I think it was great. It was just a good fun flick. And I'm like, no, it was stupid. And so I don't want to be Mr. Negative. I hate being Mr. Negative towards movies. I want to enjoy them, but there were people in the audience that were sitting next to me that were cracking up, having a blast the entire time. So maybe I was being cynical. I don't know, but I was just not sharing the enjoyment that they were.
Well, a lot to unpack there. I'll agree with you that it's not the best movie. I want to share some news with you that at the time of this recording, the big news is that it did really well. Twisters rocks the box office with powerful 80.5 million opening weekend. Analysts believe several factors contributed to the surge in initial ticket sales, the most important being that audiences simply dug the film. So it's doing really well. And if you're thinking about going in after being a fan of the original, I would say sure, go ahead and do it. But minor spoiler, it's just not as good. I don't think by any objective measure it's as good. You start off with the
Easy.
fact that I think that Helen Hunt and Bill Paxton, starring in the original 1996 movie, did an amazing job. I love the characters. They had great chemistry. The will they won't they was there, and the same type of thing is supposedly happening here. You have the storm chaser, and then you have the, I guess, the renegade storm chaser that does things a little bit differently, and it's just like the the tropes and the beat for beat, like you're saying, what actually happens. It's kind of like a retelling or a reimagining. People were like discussing, is this a sequel? Like, I mean, is it like a remake? And it's not, but it has elements of the old movie. Like, I wasn't sure what they were going for. All I knew is that I recognized they're storm chasers. They're trying to figure out, weather patterns and using technology to make, to kill a tornado basically. And that's the setup. And then we have conflicting personalities and strategy about how to do it, and devastation in the past, and like how do you fight, keep fighting the good fight to try to, save lives in the for the greater good. And that's it. And to me, it wasn't compelling this time around. I didn't enjoy pretty much anything except getting to a pro. I saw it in Dolby and it was
Mm,
awesome.
nice.
When they cranked that stuff so loud, and the howling of the storms, the special effects, the CGI, a lot of it is well done.
Oh
I would
yeah.
say a decent amount of it
Oh
is well
yeah.
done. The
For sure.
sound is primo. Like the eeriness of the strength of the storms is felt in the theater, and I wasn't upset that I saw the film. I was able to experience that like destruction and that fear of what they must have been feeling. There's a couple good, like, deaths in there where you're just like, oh, my heart breaks for you. I can't believe this is happening. And it was just devastating in a lot of ways. So a good plus there, but the story is lacking. The, setup is basic. I didn't really care about the characters. Not to say they're not like relatively charming. I just didn't think the chemistry was on. The best thing about it was the big storms. That's what I have to say about it.
Yeah.
Anything else pro? You have anything good to say
Yeah.
about
I
the
mean,
movie?
you took you took one of my only pros, and I do think visually, I think this movie is great. I think it has a very polished look to it. I
Mhm.
think they saved a lot of money by not paying really famous actors to be in this movie so that
Mhm.
they could throw all that money at visual effects. And so I think that that's the saving grace of it all, is it does all look really good. And you said there's nothing compared to the original that beats it. I think visually, obviously, and granted, I mean, the original Twisters from, a long time ago, and so visual effects were not what they
96.
were. Yeah,
Yeah.
96. Yeah, they were not what they were back then. And so obviously they're going to be better now. And so thankfully they did a very good job. I think there's maybe only one shot, and I can't even remember the specifics of it, that I watched that I was like, that looks really fake. But other than that, everything else looked really good, and I thought they did a really good job with it. Some of the stuff, when I went back and watched the original, I was like, that looks super fake, but what are you going to do?
Mhm.
The only other positive I had, as a country music lover, I thought
Mhm.
the soundtrack on this was really good.
The soundtrack was fire, and I'm
Yeah.
not a country music person, but I had the same thought. They put a
Hmm.
lot of tracks in there
They
too.
did.
Like whenever they got a chance to set the mood, set the scene, it was like, darn, darn, darn. I was just like, oh my god, it was good. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I really enjoyed that. Obnoxiously, the people sitting next to me at one point were singing along to a song, and I was like, what are we doing, people? Why, this is not a sing along. Shut up. I got so annoyed with the people sitting next to me. They had to comment about every single little thing, and they weren't whispering. They were talking at full volume to each other,
Full
right
volume.
next to me. And I'm just like, why do I
Stop
always end up?
ruining Clay's theater
Dude,
experience,
yeah, I'm
people.
trying to like this movie,
Respect.
and you're not helping it. And like I said, they were having a good time, and I'm not gonna be like, shut up because you're having a good time. Like they were legitimately loving it, and when they got done, the guy was like, "That was fantastic," and I was like, "What are you talking about, dude?" But I just got the frick out of there because I was just couldn't stand it. But yeah, those are my two positives. I think they did a good job. The acting in this is not good. I think they went with some more veteran or not non-veteran actors, some newer actors and actresses and stuff, and so it was just a lot of the lines didn't feel super great. Even some of the older characters, like the main chick's mom, like I didn't feel like she was very good either. And I don't know, it's just,
She's from ER, and like
is she?
she's usually really good at like drama, but yeah, she was kind of phoning it in. Anthony Ramos, the friend who is
Yeah,
kind of like working for a corporation to fund the operation with her. I wanted him to be better. I think he was not
no,
so good.
yeah, he
Like
definitely was not
like
good.
I wasn't believing it. Glenn Powell's been in a decent amount of things actually. Glenn Powell
Yeah,
was
he was fine.
the
He did
rogue renegade cowboy tornado wrangler, and he's been in some things. And then I thought the girl was charming, but I didn't think she had um I felt for her, but I didn't feel that she had the Daisy Edgar Jones. She didn't have like any chemistry with anyone else on screen, to me. So that's how I saw it. But overall, yeah, I don't think the acting was very good.
Yeah, I think this is a great movie to kind of compare against Top Gun. Top Gun was a movie where I felt like the original was okay, it was fine. I thought it was kind of cheesy, but they're like, all right, we're gonna take this old movie and we're gonna kind of, obviously it's a sequel, but we're gonna redo it and we're gonna, polish it and make it this way better thing. And I feel like they did a really good job with that. I don't feel the same way about this one. Like I feel like they polished some things like the visuals and all that, but a lot of it, just the acting wasn't as good. I don't think the story was too similar, even though I still think Top Gun was a little similar. I don't know. It's just like I feel like there's one example of like how to do it right, and this was just not a good example of how to do it right.
Hmm.
um I was blown away in both movies, but definitely in this one. How many freaking tornadoes we're gonna have, and they can put it on they can set up the at the beginning of the movie and be like, oh, there's a crazy amount of tornadoes happening right now, but it's like the world isn't like thrown off by it, and they're still like hosting like kids baseball games in the state of
Yeah.
Oklahoma while there's literally a tornado every single day. And it's just like, how many freaking tornadoes are there? Like they couldn't find a better way to explain it. And the world wasn't on high alert. Everybody's getting caught off guard by these constant tornadoes. It was hard to wrap my head around it and believe it. And then finally the characters are like, oh, we're so stressed out about all these tornadoes. Let's go relax and go to a rodeo. And then they go to the rodeo, and what happens at the rodeo? Oh, the rodeo is disrupted by a tornado.
Spoiler
It's
alert.
not a spoiler. It's in the trailer. You can see it in the
It's
trailer. It's not a
it's
spoiler.
it's disrupted by a tornado. You're right. And the tracking of it, like there's liberties, obviously. I think the point is you're it's a guessing game, and they kind of say that, but conveniently it all works out, and they're always like right there next to it. Like they're driving 5 minutes and they're there. And it's like, okay, great. Like they're really lucky, and they're really talented in tracking down these tornadoes. You do have to check your brain at the door for a lot of this. For me, like the original Twister science kind of like you're sitting there as a kid, you're like watching it, you're like, yeah, this could happen, this could make sense. These sensors are gonna float up into the tornado and solve world peace or whatever. It was like it all worked out, but I don't know, it just didn't work this time around. Star rating for you, Clay, out of 5 stars.
Uh, I want to give it a 1, but I feel like I feel like
You think
that's
it we had
it's
just
too
reviewed A
harsh.
Quiet Place Day 1, you think it would be worse than that?
I I do, but I
Oh
think
my god!
I'm not giving it a 1. I have to give it a 2 because I think the visuals are really good and I think the
Mhm.
music's really good and I think that keeps it from being a 1. But I don't know if I would ever watch this again. I think the fact that this movie convinced us that a large group of people would follow a storm chaser around and like set up camp and follow these tornado chasers and be like groupies to the tornado chasers, that alone I think deserves a 2 out of 5 just because it's the stupidest thing I've ever seen in a movie. That they would be like, yeah, this is a normal thing, that they would start a YouTube channel and these they would have groupies that follow them around. No, that's so dumb. That would never happen. 2 out of 5.
I cared so much about the will they won't they like relationships of the character in the original. I don't think it's too much to ask that you would create some characters and some chemistry that I would care about, and there's zero of that here. They do it in such an odd way, and for that reason, I'll barely give it a 2 out of 5. So see it if you got nothing better to do, people. Other people are enjoying it. Other people have their own view. I mean, who knows? Maybe the CGI and the effects are that good, but I don't see anybody coming around saying like I really cared about them, or I don't know, it just didn't work. Thank you for joining us, everybody. If you've seen the movie, then stick around for a short spoiler discussion where we talk about things that we just got to talk about. We Now that we've seen the movie, we just got to talk about it. So this is your spoiler warning. Go ahead and tune off. We'll see you next time. Stick around for spoilers now. Clay, we have to talk about it. What do we have to talk about?
So, have you ever seen that tornado movie where at the beginning of the movie we're shown a flashback to the main character and how this main character loses a loved one to a tornado, causing them to not want to have anything to do with tornadoes, leaving that whole world behind, but then suddenly getting pulled back in for unknown reasons and guilt trips sent by their loved ones so that they return to their old life only to be rekindled by either old relationships or new relationships with these carefree tornado chasers, and then eventually they remember how great it was and they fall back in love and then save the day with these ridiculous, oh wait, that's both of these stupid movies. It's just like I said, it's too beat for beat for me. Like it amazes me the more I watched of them. I was just like, wow, they didn't go for any kind of shock and awe. They just kind of played the same cards again, and the attempts that they made to make things even more like raise the bar. Like at first I thought, oh, they did 2 tornadoes because they did one in the first movie, but they did 2 tornadoes in the first movie, so it was not even
You're
that
right. The
cool.
bar was not raised.
But then they're like, here's a fire tornado. Oh, okay. And then like the fire goes out really quickly because obviously it wouldn't survive in a tornado. But it was just like, here's a fire tornado, and then this is a level 5 tornado. It's just, and you could see the ending and her saving the day a mile away. It baffled me that it took her as long as it did for her to be like, I'm just gonna ride this thing up into this tornado. Like I was waiting for her to do it immediately, and she waited till like the very last second after people had gotten ripped out of the movie theater and sucked into
Oh
the
yeah.
tornado. I just remember sitting there in the movie theater thinking, I wish I could get sucked up by a tornado right now.
I liked the part in the beginning where she loses her friends, because I'm like, are they all gonna die or are some of them gonna die? And the way that they go, like in the short time they introduce them, it's like, oh, these are young carefree kids, and I cared about them really quickly. I don't know why. And then they were like killed, and every time someone was sucked away in a tornado in this, I was like, shit. I was like, that's somebody's like family member. Like I cared. And they made me care about some people really quickly. But then you get to the main character and it's all like she, I guess, has this love interest with this guy going on, and it's like, oh, you're such a bad boy cowboy, and you're into storm chasing too, and hey, don't give up on your dream to save the world. And it's just, it was terribly acted, all like in a lot of it, like, and I just I didn't believe any of it. Like the lines were just delivered very dry, and I don't know, like the parallels, like you're saying, what beat for beat, there were a lot of them. There were a lot of callbacks, and I didn't feel that, oh yeah, that's cool nostalgia thing about it. They tried to take liberties when they shouldn't. Like they didn't want to have a cow like being in the air from a tornado, because they do that in Twisters 96, and then they just have a single chicken fall from the sky in this one. And I'm like, okay, what is this supposed to be like saying? Like, I don't understand. Like, just go even bigger. Like that, have it be that summer popcorn flick where it's like have 20 cows in the air or something like that. I didn't know what was going on, but you do bring up a good point. The For all the technology now that we have to make cool CGI, I was like, what really happened that was like so like impressive? Nothing really. I'm telling you, the audio is the star of the show. The audio was the star of the show by far. I just didn't care. I wish that I cared. The technology didn't make sense. Like we're gonna set up 3 sensors that are like butter packets around uh, a cup of water that's swirling. See, this is a tornado, and I have to like put the spoon in it to make it like swirl, or else you don't understand that's a tornado. And here's the like whatever the sugar packets, whatever the fuck. Like, what did you think? Like, what was going on here? Did you care? And then at the end, they explain it away how they don't save the world. It's like I know people are gonna think that you didn't kill the tornado, it was due to other things, but don't worry about it. Like in passing, just so
Right.
you know that we're not saying in this movie that they made a difference. Like, it's gonna be like speculation and like nothing like really mattered. The love story, like it was just like not there. They didn't want to commit to it. They're like, don't make them fall for each other, but hint at it the entire time. I'm like, then why even do it?
Right. Why?
What are we doing here? I'm a sucker for a good like they don't even. I don't think they kiss once,
I
And
don't
then the other guy
remember.
was supposed to be a love triangle thing at one point. They kind of hinted it. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't care. Her and her mom, I didn't believe they were related. Like it was just like nothing.
The
I don't
only
know what else to say about the flick.
the only
Not
other
good.
thing I have to share is my favorite part of the movie was they go and visit this town that got decimated by a tornado. And as they're walking up, the military is standing there, and over the loudspeaker, they say, "We will be enacting a curfew tonight at 10 o'clock. Everyone must be,
Yeah.
And I was like, what? And I looked over at my buddy, and he goes, why are they, why are they making them have a curfew? They don't even have homes anymore. Like they've been destroyed. And I was like, maybe for looting purposes, but I was just like,
Yeah.
what are they afraid
There's
of, that
nothing to loot.
the tornadoes are going to come back at night and get them, so they need to be inside by a certain time? Stupid, just dumb, just stupid.
But you also had a great point that they had like the rodeo event going, knowing that these storms are everywhere in the area.
Right.
Everywhere in this area, there's tornado every day, and they're just out there, and they're like kind of surprised that the tornado's there. To the point where people are still denying the tornado's existence while it's out the window. They're like, "There's no tornado." Like, just the 9 times out of 10, it's fake, and he just gets sucked into this tornado. Like I was floored. Not a good flick overall. Um, People love it. People love it. People are seeing it. People are going to see it twice, I bet. That was awesome. It was all right. Thank you very much for joining us, everybody, for another episode of Movie Magic Reviews. We'll see you next time. We'll see you at the movies.